So he did this thing to keep himself going where he put a sticky note and it said, keep fucking going. I literally put that in the front of my screen that just said, keep fucking going.
Yeah.
And every time I would be like, looking down, I'd look up, keep fucking going.
Yeah.
And that, like, all right, let's lock in. People thought I was crazy. I would have people that would come in for my birthday and they're like, why is there just a sticky note saying keep fucking going? I'm like, oh, you know.
It doesn't matter.
But that mantra, and it could be anything. For me, I literally just ripped it off the shelf. But keep fucking going. Have something to remind yourself at the beginning, at the end of the day, like, you got this, you can do it. Mm-hmm. It's 2 months.
Join me as I talk to Freddy De Jesus Ramirez to get a fresh perspective on the journey through law school, to taking the bar and waiting for the results. Along the way, we discuss my past experiences in comparison to what it is now. We talk about working, having fun, and balancing life throughout the process. As always, I aim to distill some nuggets for people to take away. Enjoy this conversation with my friend, Freddy.
Mr. Freddy De Jesus Ramirez, fresh off the bar. Thanks for joining me today, buddy.
Thank you, Logan.
So I wanted to get a fresh perspective on what it's like going through law school, taking the bar, and everything leading up to there. So why don't you give me a little thumbnail sketch of from high school through law school? What brought you to the point you were at?
Yeah, I honestly never thought I'd get to this point. When I grew up, I was really into like the medieval times, and I wanted to be a knight when I grew up. And there's no knights around.
Did you go to those Renaissance fairs?
Yeah, I did actually as a kid. And I'm like, I want to be a knight when I grew up. And then I figured there's no knights in the world, so I wanted to be I wanted to do animation. And then I got out of high school, went into actually for my undergrad. I started out taking classes for animation and actually doing animation work, but then I found out you don't get any girls that way. So I'm like,
maybe no. Nowadays, man.
So I changed my what I was gonna do, what I was gonna graduate as, to history. And I actually graduated with the BAs in history from CSUN.
Yeah, what's CSUN for those of those who don't know that?
Oh yeah, my bad. California State University, Northridge.
Okay.
So I graduated there with a history degree, but I actually ended up not really using it that much.
Shocker.
Because I ended up here. I graduated and I put out my resumes and I told myself, all right, look, I'm gonna leave it to fate. If the first person who's willing to hire me, they get me, because I know what I was worth. And I said, all right, if these colleges, if these campuses, they want me to be a history teacher, if these museums want me to be a history director, up for it. If the first law firm that wants to hire me, we're going into law. And you ended up giving me my first.
So it was by divine providence.
By divine providence. And so I started working with you. And, we started working, fresh off of college, started working for, I guess, like 2 years or so. And I told myself, I mean, there are better heights I can reach.
Yeah.
Why not?
Why not?
So went into law school right after the pandemic, 2021.
Yeah.
So.
Right. You were the first year pandemic, right?
Yeah.
All online learning.
Yeah, exactly. So that really did change the landscape of like how you proceeded through law school.
Yeah.
And now I graduated, first generation of my family, Latino, to graduate. Yeah. So
how's that journey been for you? Were first generation college, right?
Yeah.
And now you're first generation grad school. Tell me about how important that is to you and how important it is for your family.
It's important to me because, like I tell people all the time, I grew up a broke Latino orphan. To me, and especially like my father, who he would tell me stories about all the time, he would cross the desert, cross the border, He didn't have those kinds of opportunities back there. Like, none of them. They're completely poor. He comes from a small village. And so coming over here, him and my mom were able to give me those opportunities to better myself. And that means a huge deal to me because it's like, I really didn't have it easy growing up.
Yeah.
You know, like I told you before personally, I used to have to hunt for my own food. That's how broke we were.
Yeah,
in the
you
desert.
told me about going and hunting quail, not for recreation purposes, but to survive.
Yeah, exactly. And so it's a huge deal for me. For my family, it's an even bigger deal because there's no one in my family has gotten a college graduate degree.
Yeah.
None of them have gotten to this vocation, and none of them have gotten to the three main jobs that people always have, which is the clergy, doctor, and an attorney. And I got to that point, and for them, they're just extremely proud and happy to the point that that's all they've been talking about for the past couple months.
Yeah, I remember going to your graduation, sitting with your sister, and the look of pride on her face, watching you cross that stage, and then having your three nephews there as kind of like, oh, if he can do it, we can do it. So it's a nice example that you're passing down to the younger generation, because maybe your sisters didn't have the opportunity, or they scrapped just to make it and give you that opportunity. So that's really neat.
Yeah,
and to see that firsthand.
And they are definitely, and I think it's a good thing for my family because it's like lighting a fire underneath their seats for the children, right? Mm-hmm. They're saying, okay, well, he can do it. What can I do?
Yeah.
And my niece specifically, she actually didn't finish high school. And so after she saw my graduation and what I can do, she's going back into high school. She didn't even want to finish. She's like, wow, I'm okay with working at Yogurtland the rest of my life. And I'm like, no,
wrong mindset.
Yeah, I've tried to incentivize her to finish high school, to pursue greater heights. The incentivization doesn't work, unfortunately, for everyone.
Sometimes the carrot doesn't work and you need a stick, right?
Yeah, and so she now wants to finish high school and go into college, and it's like, I'm glad I can do that.
Yeah, I think what people tell you can do this, but until you see someone do it, that's the incentivization that people need. Like, oh my gosh, I see it now, because not everyone, there's different ways of learning or absorbing, but just being told something may get repetitive, but actually watching someone go through it, it's like actions speak louder than words sometimes.
Yeah. Did you have that too, like growing up? Like, how was it for your family?
For me, I definitely had a little bit more of an easier path. My dad's a college grad. My mom eventually got her college degree. I had an older brother that's an attorney. So I had the path laid before me. So I kind of knew where I wanted to go, and I was able to get to that point. So not as tough, I would say, as yours, but it's an accomplishment. And I don't want to say I had like it's super hard, but we didn't have we weren't golden or silver spoon children, but we definitely had a lot of advantages that a lot of other people didn't have, but we also capitalized on a lot of advantages and opportunities. So there is hard work, and I don't want to ever diminish anyone's hard work, but that's what I want to talk about. Some people that have cards stacked against them, man, like you don't have a lot of opportunities that other people have, but every opportunity you got, you took and seized upon, and that's really cool. And it's neat to hear these stories, especially since I'm 2008, I'm 16 years removed from law school. I want to know, like, is it still the same? Is it kind of like, let's jump into that. What was like going into law school, the path leading up to there, and the process of law school? Walk me through that.
I think it's probably really different from what you went through. And one of the biggest factors for that was technology and the pandemic. Because when I went into it, we didn't have in-person classes. We had to do everything through Zoom because everyone was afraid of getting COVID-19.
Yeah.
So a lot of it was me sitting behind a desk, sometimes in my underwear. I won't lie.
That's a visual no one wants to see, man.
But sometimes like behind a screen and just trying to study and retain all this knowledge. And that was really weird because for some people it works. For me, it doesn't. I like being impersonal. I like being in person, taking down notes. I'm able to retain much more information, and I'm less distracted because you're on your computer.
I feel the same way. I think a lot of people, I'm old school, so I like pen, paper, but the new generation, they're learning on screens, and for me, that's so hard. But Zoom, I think you went in a little bit older, so maybe you were a little bit more of my generation where we wrote things down or at least physically typed things down in order to retain them.
Yeah.
So talk about that, like the level of people going in first year, and maybe some of the younger kids in your class had more of a familiarity with learning on a screen or taking, online classes or whatnot. Talk to me about that.
Yeah, and so for the younger crowd, I think they became more, and this is one of the things I noticed because I wasn't prepared to see it, was they can, I don't know if I can curse on your.
Go ahead, man.
They can learn when you were probably in your time and era. Not saying that was too far
when
ago.
I was old, man.
Back in the day.
Back in the day.
They called on you. Okay, and let's say they called on you. You don't have any resources. You probably didn't have a computer to look up the answer. You needed to know your stuff.
Yeah, we actually, when I was in law school, we started, laptops were, this was like 2005 to 08. So laptops, they were in every classroom that we brought in. So we typed our notes down on a laptop. Mm-hmm. But, like the cold call, yeah, that was prevalent. But some of the professors like, hey, you're on call this week. You're getting called on, so know your material.
For mine, the atmosphere was very much, you got called, you had so many resources that you could access electronically to help you answer that question. And I don't think that benefited a lot of people. Yeah. Because the younger crowd knew what to do. They knew how to get ahead without actually trying. Uh-huh. And I'm sure that a lot of those people that did that did not, they may have succeeded, but they may not have as well.
It's kind of like what works for you. And I'm sure you had to learn on the fly how to adapt real fast to learning in front of a computer. And talk to me about how hard that was, but some of the strategies you employed to kind of adapt to that and be able to get through your first year doing all your classes remotely.
Well, some of it was, getting better at typing. That's one of the things that I had to adapt to because I'm a writer. Uh-huh. I'm a terrible writer.
Can't read your writing just like mine, man.
Yeah. But during my undergrad, funny enough, all my notes, I have booklets and booklets and booklets of handwritten notes. That's how I learned.
Spiral notebooks, right?
Yeah, exactly. I would buy a ton of them, 5-star ones.
Yeah.
And then once I got into law school, it was just, okay, now I really have to type everything because they don't care whether you're writing now. Everyone's typing. So get used to it. Type. Yeah. The bar, type. All
Dude, I think I was the first year for ExamSoft in 2008. So we all got to take our tests online. That was like a godsend for a lot of people.
Yeah.
Because the ability to go back and edit and actually have coherent handwriting, because like when you're writing fast, like you start getting nervous, your hands like out of control. So the introduction of technology into the schooling system, I think, was a big change. But then you guys got pushed into it hard, like
ExamSoft. There were no tests, there were no exams I took that were not electronic. We got back to a certain point in which, now we're back in class, now we're back in person. But your tests are still going to be electronic. It's still going to be ExamSoft. Yeah. And I think that if you ever were used to, ExamSoft is helpful. As you said, you can edit and whatnot. But you really if you're not tech savvy, there's some things in there that you got to figure out. You're going to
you got to practice before you jump into that, because if you're taking a test and you don't know how to use it for the first time, there's a learning curve, just like every new technology, right? You got to know how to use things and practice before you go and take a final exam, or God forbid, hopefully you know how to use it before the bar exam, right?
Yeah. And one of the beneficial things with this new era that came about is all the electronic resources. Like I had Quimby, for example. Did you have Quimby?
What's that, for the bar prep?
It's not bar prep. It's just like there for you for law school to help you out.
No, we had like outlines, and like there was some books that would give you concise, like short outlines, so you don't have to prep your own. I don't remember any electronic resources. I mean, not that we shared outlines, but there was some people that may have shared some outlines and circulated them amongst the crowd, just because there was so much to do. And I think after my class, which was 2008, the electronic access and databases starting getting a little bit more populated and popular to use. But Quimby, I have no idea what that is.
Yeah, it's like this website that you can go onto, and before you would have to read the cases, right?
Yeah.
This one, it literally gives you a synopsis. Even an animated video, it tells you the opinion, the facts. It just gives you everything that you need. And so people, I would literally be behind people. Not that I'm snitching. I'm not going to name any names, but I'd be behind them and I just see them pull up Quimby. They get cold called and they could just bullshit their way through an answer. And I'm guilty of that because I also did
hey, man, you got to, I mean, if they give you the resources to use it, then use it because that's why it exists. And that's kind of like law. Why recreate the wheel if all that's accurate? Then use the resources that are available to you.
Yeah.
Some people can get by doing that and they learn that way. Some people need to read the case and synthesize it and be able to regurgitate. It just is all like what works for you. But if you have the resources available to you, it's kind of like using ChatGPT now.
Right.
You know, you're not supposed to use it to write a brief because it might spit out some wrong citations and whatnot, as some lawyers in New York found out. But it's self-learning. So there's a lot of people that use it to draft demand letters, start a mediation brief or some type of motion, and then they'll go back and correct it. But it's only going to get better and smarter as it goes forward. So, I mean, we're right in the thick of a whole new technological revolution and how it applies to law. I mean, AI is a game changer for a lot of people.
I actually just used it for discovery. We had a client here last Friday, and there's a bunch of special interrogatories and formal interrogatories, and I was just like, I don't want to convert this all to Spanish myself because it's a Spanish-speaking client only. Put it in ChatGPT, and it's just like all in Spanish. So I was like, that's all right, thank you.
30 seconds later, man, that saved me 3 hours of work. Yeah, it's definitely, technology it's a double-edged sword. A lot of it's, can be used for wrong purposes, and a lot of it can be used to benefit you. And I think a lot of people that are stuck in their old ways, it works, but you also have to be adaptable and be able to pivot and bring in new resources to make your life a little bit easier. Because if not, then why not? It's like you can make your life easier if you enjoy the benefits of some technology that will help reduce your workload.
Exactly. And then one of the things you mentioned earlier is like the ability to share outlines. To kind of anchor back to your original question, like back in your time, like you probably weren't able to easily share access to like documents or resources. For right now in this new age, and when I went in, incredibly easy. You can form Google Docs that people just all work on. Outlines shared. I had a whole group of people that would just post each of their own outlines, and then we would post resources from outlines that we found in other years or from other classes, and we would just post so much resources that
it's like resource overload, huh?
Yeah, and it was good. It was really nice because those, like, they would do attack outlines, and they really helped out.
And especially there's some people that are just really good at distilling all this information down into something digestible. That's why I love the bar prep. Like, you got the book and it just gave you the laws. Like, I wish I had this from year one.
Yeah.
This is all I needed.
Exactly.
And it's like, it's really like, God, was it 3 years worth it? But going back to law school, like, what else can you talk about? I mean, you worked through law school. Tell me about working. I don't think everyone works. I know I did a little bit, but what was your experience with working during law school?
And everyone, so that's a good question, because it's like, when I worked through law school, it was a little bit tough, but I managed somehow, and obviously I reduced my hours once I found that I was working too much and it was cutting into my studying time. Mm-hmm. Everyone always kept looking at me or telling me like, hey, you're crazy. Why are you working through law school? It was a bit rough. I will not lie. Like, there were times in which I was just very overwhelmed. Mm-hmm. And, it's like, okay, I have to do this complaint by this date, but I also, on my mind, I'm like, oh crap, I have these finals coming up. And sometimes just the stress of both of them, they would just, it was a lot. That's why I worked out a lot during law school. But you have to do it. Not everyone has the opportunities to not work during law school.
Or the desire to take out more loans.
Yeah, or the desire to, and some people, like, even myself, like, I took out extra loans. I know people that took out way more loans than needed, and they're just in the financial office literally told them, just don't even pay it off. You're never going to pay this off. Yeah, exactly.
Wow.
So I had to work to survive, to eat.
Yeah.
And you some people need to do it. Some people you don't. I would tell people if they ask me like, how should I go about law school? Should I? Because there's different ways you can go about it. You can do a fast track where you finish in 2 years, but you're just going to be kicking and screaming the entire way through.
Yeah, that's pretty intense workload, huh?
In hellfire, you're not going to be able to work at all.
Well, I meant workload is in class load.
Your class load, yes.
Yeah, it's like taking a lot of units for like undergrad or something. On the quarter system, I remember I took 22 units one quarter. I was like, whoa, oops.
Yeah. You could be like me. I did a 3-year course, and sometimes I did 12 hours a week. Sometimes I did 20.
Did the law school cap, didn't they have a contract where they said you couldn't work more than X amount of hours per week? I remember we had a 20-hour cap on that, and I thought that was funny.
Yeah, I had a 20-hour cap. Can I actually say, I'm not going to get in trouble, I guess.
Yeah, no, man.
I did way more than that 20 hours. Yeah. I did 24 at some points.
I think there's a lot of people, like for me, I didn't work my first semester, and I found I had too much free time. Like I needed something to structure my free time, because left to my own devices, maybe I'm my own worst enemy, I guess. Like, so if I remember I went back my second semester first year, and I got a job where I worked 12 hours a week, and I was like, okay, I have to do this, this, and this, and I only have this, this, and this.
Yeah.
Not that I didn't have free time to go do what I like to do, like go drink beers and whatnot, but it definitely made me more focused on prioritizing my time and getting work done, as opposed to like, I got this afternoon, it's like 2:00, I could watch TV, I have 8 hours free, like what do? I don't want to study, because I just came home from school.
Exactly.
You know, so I found for me, maybe it's like finding a sweet spot. If you don't have the ability to like prioritize your time, for me it was super beneficial, and I worked my way throughout law school. I didn't work anything crazy like beyond 30 hours. Maybe your second and third year, when you have less time or courses are dialed in, you're doing more
See
work.
what you can manage.
Yeah, so I think you ramp it up a little bit and you want to get more experience, but I found for me it was beneficial and helped me structure my time more precisely and be able to give me something where I didn't have free time and kind of left to my own devices. It's not a good situation.
Yeah, and it really depends on who you are, because some people, like for me, I can study and I can study in a certain amount of time, and it's not too much, you know? Like it doesn't take me 4 hours to read a case or cases. It'll take me like an hour to read a couple cases and then synthesize everything, and then maybe another 30 minutes to write real quick outlines on them. Some people it takes 3 to 4 hours, so it's not feasible for them to go to work because they need more time for that studying. For me, it was like, okay, I know that I can do 12 hours in a week. I know that I can get my work done at school with those 12 hours on hand, and still have enough time to kind of do some R&R, because you really need that in law school. Otherwise, you're going to hate your experience. And it's going to be like my bar studies, where I did that exact thing that I tried to avoid, where it was wake up, 8 to 9 hours of bar study, go to work for like 3 hours, come home and just sleep.
Yeah.
That was brutal.
That's something I had in my notes. Was I feel that the area of law over the last 10 to 15 years has finally realized that mental health is really important. And the horror stories of when I was in law school, and especially the years before me, was you get that high paying job and they turn you and burn you, and they're spitting out associates at these top firms. You're getting a lot of money, but you know, the turn rate's like 2-3 years, and they're, you know, because they pay a lot, it's an attractive position. But now, I don't know if this is my observation incorrect, but I feel that the younger people coming into law school have a little bit more self-awareness, where they want some work-life balance. They don't all want to go be working 80-hour billable hour weeks. I mean, even more. So talk to me about that. How did that manifest in law school? And I'll kind of give you my thoughts on it when I was in law school.
Yeah. So definitely what you're thinking is correct. Your mindset on that is correct. There's a lot more people out now that are in the opinion or in the mindset that if I go into law school, I don't want to grind it out and just be burnt out and quit, right? A lot of that is not only because of the way that our landscape has developed in terms of just, socially.
I don't think it's just related to law school. I think a lot of professions, just professionally, people are realizing like, I don't want to work and then go enjoy my golden years. I want to enjoy the time now.
Yeah, and one of the things I noticed is that when I was taking a specific class, it was on professional rules and responsibilities. I took that class. The teacher was going over the statistics. How many people right out of law school have to do these hours? You have to put in your dues is what it's called.
Yeah.
He put it out there. And he went over just the amount of work and how stressful people are coming out of law school. And he also went over some of the rates of
alcoholism.
Yeah, the drug dependency on it. And I was like, and I could just hear people as they chimed in like, I don't want that.
Yeah, a lot of people self-select out because it's definitely a grueling profession. It's not like you're working outside in high intense heat roofing, but there's a lot of stress, and it's a stressful situation that a lot of people don't want to take on. I mean, I wouldn't want to be a roofer in Las Vegas.
I wouldn't either.
So, I mean, there's jobs for everyone, but it's also not a cakewalk. But I feel that there has been more of a recognition by law firms, owners, people doing the hiring that like, we don't want to do things the way we did growing up because we want our employees to like us. We want to make sure that we're providing a healthy work environment for them, and we want them to grow, and we don't want to just abuse them,
Let me ask you a question on that then, because, the way that you worked and you probably started was with that mentality. Do you think that can somehow be detrimental to the way that law should be carried out? Because think of it like this way. Before we used to have we didn't used to have a lot of jobs that were remote, and now there's a change where everything's remote, and I've seen people take advantage of that. Is there?
Yeah, I think there's a fine line to walk. I didn't go and work at a big firm. I always knew that was not my path because I was not a good employee. So I worked with my brother.
Thanks for being honest.
I don't take criticism well. Yeah. My brother will attest to that. And I sometimes don't like being told what to do. He was a good mentor and still one of the best attorneys I know actually the best attorney I know to this day. But I wanted to go form my own path, and I did that. But answering your question, I think there is a opportunity for people to say, I want a 40-hour work life balance. I only want to work 40 hours. And I'm like, well, what have you done to earn that? Like the sense of entitlement can be a little high in some employers' eyes. Like, hey, that's fair, but just because you come out you haven't done anything to cut your teeth or to earn that. You still have to put in your dues a little bit and show that you can earn that. And some employers will reward that, but I think there might be some people that may have an artificial idea in their head that this is how it is, but there's still the expectation from our side, especially with some of the people of what we went through. You still got to put in the work.
Yeah.
And you got to show me that you are worthy of what you're asking for. So there's give and take on both sides.
Yeah.
On the other side, some employers will say, no, I did it 80 hours a week and that's how you're doing it. Well, fuck them.
Yeah.
Because that's not the way the world works. And that's not the way the world's going. It's the people that are resistant to change. If that's going to be who you are, you're going to die. So you have to be able to evolve with the time and realize that your workforce coming in has a completely different perspective and experience from what you went through. But at the same time, the workforce that's coming in has to realize that this is what they went through, and there's got to be a convergence in the middle.
Yeah, and I feel like too, you can work your donkey, your horse as hard as you want. You can beat them in the stick as much as you want, but then at some point they're going to keel over. You're going to lose out on maybe a worker because you're overworking them 80 hours a week, and you're going to have to go through the headache of finding another attorney to work for you. And also, what if that attorney brought you in a lot of business,
Yeah.
Brought you a lot of business, but you worked them so much that they said, 20 years in, I'm retiring,
Or for that person that's bringing in business, like, why can't I do this myself?
Yeah, exactly.
right? Like if you, that's the key to the game in a lot of attorneys' eyes is you gotta get the client in the door, and they don't teach you that in law school how to run a business. They teach you how to synthesize the case, and I'm sure the experience was the same for you. But I know a lot of attorneys your age are now starting their own business, and that's awesome, man. That's the entrepreneurial spirit is huge. I know when I went to law school, we didn't know how to do that, and it's trial and error. And I'm kind of now, as I'm in year 16, I'm trying to walk back some of the ways I established my business and get more foundational practices in place. I wish I had that MBA background or that how to build a business background. I didn't. I just did it how I thought it should be done.
Right.
And it worked. And now I'm realizing that to get to the next step, I actually have to step back and do this foundational build. But be that as it may, it's tough, man. I still feel like law school was a good time, it was a good place, but there's definitely some improvements. I wish they would have had some like seminars or some people like, hey, you want to go out on your own? Let's talk about it. This is what you need to do.
I feel like they're starting to do that now. Maybe not so much they're starting to do that in the sense of they're preparing you after law school a little bit. They now have, I don't know if they had this during when you went to law school, but they have financial literacy classes.
No, not that I don't recall that.
I took one last semester of law school because I was like, I need this because I suck with money.
Yeah, well, I mean, think about it, man. You're like coming from college to a lot of people's paths is college to law school. You've never really had a job, and you've never really had to be a responsible adult with having a job, paying bills. I mean, there's definitely people in law school that have families that have that, and they're probably a lot more financially literate than a lot of the kids going into law school. But that's awesome that they have financial literacy.
Yeah, so they're at least preparing you a little bit after you pass the bar, but it's just a little bit. I think they're dipping their toes. I do foresee that with our trend, the way that our upwards trend is going towards being more inclusive of all these different types of laws and facets of law, that they're going to introduce how to run a business 101 in law school.
I'm curious because of the way I think a lot of people say being a lawyer is like a dying breed. I don't know if this data is correct or not, but the amount of people enrolling in law school is down. The amount of lawyers they're churning out is down with AI. And I wonder, how do you feel about that? Did you notice, or did your professors talk about any of that as law is like kind of a dying business, or none of that?
I think there were some moments. I can't recall how the specifics. I won't lie. I was probably in there.
Not paying
attention. Not paying attention, hungover. But I do recall that there have been some instances in which they said that it is a dying breed. I'm pretty sure the teacher said that's not true. And I think a lot of the amount of people that were there in my law school, the amount of people that have taken the bar in general, and just the amount of law as it's developing so far, I think that attests to the opposite of that it is continuing, it is growing, it's
just evolving.
It's evolving. It's just maybe that there are certain factors with technology, especially AI, that are kind of attacking it and making it a little bit more difficult, and might be deterring some people from practicing it. Just look at AI. One of the things that came up in my class was AI is developing so much that you can't even tell images are real or fake.
It's crazy, huh?
Yeah, there was a criminal law class, and she said, take a look at this photo. And it was Bernie Sanders in like a puff jacket. It's like, what do you think of this image?
Looks dead on real.
Yeah, and it was completely fake, AI generated. It's like, imagine it was an evidence class. What if this was an evidence? What if you got to the point where everything just looks so hyper realistic?
How do you determine which is and which isn't? I guess the metadata, they'll have to like timestamp how it's created or something.
Yeah,
I don't know.
And that might deter some people from wanting to be an attorney, because it's like, okay, well, our system is going to get so flawed with technology. Maybe you can have AI do my job for me, or now I have to contend with this in terms of law.
Well, I think I can bring it into a closer perspective. Like, I'm driving to work today and I see 3 Waymo cars.
Yeah.
Driverless technology, and people are scared of it. And I've been in one, and it was awesome. Spot on, man. Like, there's people crossing out and it stops, and it's like technology is definitely a better it's at some point technology is going to be a better driver than humans are.
Yeah.
So I'm like, well, in my field, am I a dying breed? I'm sure it will evolve, and there will always be some form of personal injury. But you have to be willing to adapt, because at some point this technology is coming, and you can't fight the change.
Yeah, and I think one thing, and that's to anybody that's wondering, like, is being an attorney, or is AI going to take over my job as an attorney?
Yeah.
Here's the thing you have that technology doesn't have over you in being an attorney is emotion. Because a lot of, they'll tell you that in law school, there's such things as colorable facts. The jury sometimes, maybe they won't adhere to the law 100% of the time. Take the O.J. Simpson trial, for example. I read the O.J. Simpson trial, like verbatim, word for word, and all the stuff they did on there.
The criminal or civil trial.
Yeah, a lot of it was, a lot of it was, the criminal,
Okay.
the criminal one. The criminal one, they painted it as like, these white people are going against black people. They made O.J. Simpson look like not only like a hero, but like the epitome of Christian values. They redid his whole house. That I don't know why the prosecutors allowed this, but they let the defense counsel go into his house and redo the whole thing, because he had pictures of naked women there and like all this paraphernalia and whatnot.
Yeah.
He redid. They let him redo this whole thing inside there in the house to make him look like a decent person.
Yeah.
That's colorable. AI right now can't do that.
Yeah.
So, and they're having issues with making legal analysis and bringing legal conclusions. So you're good.
Good until it starts learning empathy.
And until we get Skynet.
Yeah. Interesting fact. I had one of my professors at Santa Clara was on OJ's dream team.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
So we had some fun conversations when I did my study abroad in the Netherlands at the International Criminal Court.
Yeah.
Which I can't divulge, but he didn't divulge anything that was privileged or anything.
Black tape stuff.
No, it was just cool, man.
Your
to hear
name
from the
redacted?
perspective. No, he was just telling us like the defense was it put on a master class of criminal defense, and that dream team was literally the dream team.
Yeah.
And the prosecution was just
they fumbled a lot.
Yeah, it was. But it was entertaining.
But you as an attorney have that over AI, where it's like you can form like, okay, I know how to attack people's emotions. I know how to make my client look sympathetic. Come in with a neck brace. I don't think AI is going to be able to do that.
No. We don't tell people to come in with a neck brace. This ain't Better Call Saul.
Oh, my bad.
No, we always paint within the lines. But
I know. There
are ways to help bring out the helpful characteristics that AI still hasn't figured out yet.
Right.
And
exactly.
I think that will always be an advantage that we have. What were your, I know you talked about the pandemic. What were some of the other hurdles in law school that were maybe more contemporary than when I would have gone?
Let's see. Dang. I would say maybe the whole deal with COVID in general made being in law school, you had to watch everything you did. So when we did get to the point where you had to come back to classes, it wasn't just a very easy transition.
Yeah.
It was, you had to come in with these big masks, and they mandated that you bring in specific N95 masks, is what they're called, not just regular masks that you'd get at Walgreens. And they would kick you out of classes if you didn't bring it, right?
Yeah.
It was also problematic because people still got sick. And so what would happen is that you'd be in class, they'd take your roll down, they'd take specific slots in which you sat in, right? They'd be like, okay,
yeah, you had assigned seating or something?
You didn't have assigned seating, but where you sat, you had to put down that you're going to sit there for the rest of the class. You can't change. Here's the reason why. Because if you got sick, they had to then mandate that the people around you got tested, and they would warn you, hey, you might be in the possibility of getting sick.
Oh.
You then have to miss classes, and there were several instances in which they would completely shut down the school. You'd have to go back to Zoom classes.
Yeah.
And that really put a hamper on things, because it's like, all right, we have this in-person meeting to study something for a midterm, and then they'd send a mass email saying, campus is closed. You cannot come because a lot of people are too sick.
But they didn't stop the test, right?
They didn't stop the test. Well, I don't think that there was ever an instance in which they stopped people from taking it. If you got COVID, they might give you like you can take this other day.
Yeah.
But it really was difficult to always be like, all right. And I've had instances in which I was like, all right, I'm heading to school, because I would walk to school.
Yeah.
I'm heading to school. I walk to school, 10-minute walk my entirety of law school. And I would get there, and this legit happened one time. I would get there, lights are off, doors closed, doors locked, and I'm like, what's going on? And then I look through my emails, and it's like, fuck, it's Zoom. And so I would run home, and I would miss my login.
I'm here, I promise. It's usually like you're usually late going to school, but you're actually late getting. Like, Mr. Ramirez, how hard is it to make it to a Zoom?
Yeah, I was just
Funny.
because there was too many. So I don't think that was ever an issue, and I don't know. If, like,
I mean, us being late was like my bike broke down, or I was probably too hungover from the night before. I was like, this ain't going today.
Yeah, and so COVID really changed. For my last semester of law school, you really didn't have any of those issues, but you really
they ironed out the wrinkles.
Well, there was just not many cases anymore either. Like, it was like it started changing from COVID being this there's a possibility of your life ending to it's a common cold.
Yeah. The understanding of COVID kind of subsided some of the fears. What, aside from COVID, are there any other things that you think people that may listen to this can take away? As when people ask me about law school, I'm so far removed. I just tell them I don't know. Like, what other nuggets or lessons or anything that you can give away might be beneficial to people considering law school?
A couple. Number one, definitely if they tell you, hey, we need to have a meeting, there's a mandatory meeting on a certain thing, go through with it. An example is the mandatory meeting for student loans, right? Because student loans, if you go into law school and I don't mean to put it in this way, but if you don't have a silver spoon, you didn't go up with a silver spoon in your hand,
or the money available to you to pay off your tuition in cash,
you're going to be paying that for a while. And like for right now, they're screwing me on my student loans because they're not allowing income-based repayment plans. So they would tell you go through these mandatory meetings, and I really didn't listen to them, and I wish I did.
Now you're wishing you did, huh?
Another thing is outlines. Outlines are your saving grace. If you can find an outline that works for you, do that instead of wasting time making it. But always have your outlines done 2 weeks, 3 weeks before your finals, because you do not want to. A lot of people, what they did, they'll be like, I haven't even finished outlining, and it's like, you have the exam the next week.
Yeah.
You should be.
Your outline should be done. You should be reviewing the outline. That was the same for us, man. Outlines were the saving grace, because it was just like, you can't study cases. You just got to study outlines. And that hasn't changed, I don't think.
Yeah, exactly. Another one would be books. My first semester, I am so embarrassed to say this.
You didn't buy a book, did you?
No, I bought $1,000 worth of books, and 90% of them I didn't need. Because what they'll tell you is they'll be like, here's the supplemental, here's all this. I'm fresh. No one prepared me for this. So I'm like, buy all the books. That's what I was used to.
Yeah.
And so I still have some of those books in my apartment.
Mint condition?
Just collecting dust. Yeah, mint condition. They still have the wrapper on them.
Oh.
I never opened them. And so it's like, okay, well, buy the books that are necessary. If you can find a PDF, find a PDF. I've even gotten away with going on this one app, like eBay, for example, getting an edition that was a used one or an edition from a different year and getting away with it.
Yeah, because the change is like 10 words. Or they change the preface so they can make a new edition and make some more money. Yeah,
or some teachers even, you'll be like, oh, my edition doesn't have that, I'm sorry. And they'll be like, I understand.
Yeah.
You know? That's one of the things I wish I knew, because you're wasting a lot of money. Money.
Books were expensive, man. I remember our hack was we go on like half.com, which was eBay's used book site, I think it was.
Yeah.
But we didn't. I think most of us still had to use the books. But now it's like everything's online.
Exactly. Yeah. And then another tip would be studying, who you study with, that makes a huge difference, because I did both, the best of both worlds, and I think that worked for me because I started noticing this is how it works for me. You're hopefully people who go into law school, hopefully you make some friends, because you don't want to be lonely throughout the whole thing, and those people are going to help you get money later on. They'll refer you cases, but I made friends. But sometimes we would be in a group studying, and they would be just talking about things that aren't related to law.
Yeah. Sometimes the group studying is anti-helpful.
Yeah.
And it definitely does not help you. I found a balance. There were some people you could study with.
Right.
You would study for like 10 minutes and then you'd go off and do your own. I was more of I always liked studying by myself more.
Yeah.
But I found it helpful to have a few people around to share an outline, or, hey man, I don't understand this. Break this down for me real fast.
Exactly. Find people that you know are smart. Don't just find them because you get really engaged with them. You get along with them. They'll help you share resources, which is beneficial because they might find something that you're not able to. And then also, they're a backboard of ideas. You throw something out, maybe you have a concept you don't understand, and it comes back, and you figure out, okay, that's how it works out. This is how negligence actually works out. This is how something in property law works out. And also, for me, that was beneficial was teaching. I taught a lot of these people. That's one of the things that helped me out. I would be up there at the whiteboard being like, this is how you do community property. This is how probate works. This is how I figured that out. I was on it.
Some things come to you real fast.
Yeah.
And it reinforces when you're up there and able to explain it. And it probably helped you during the bar. Like, you could distill it and you could explain it and then you could write about it. And that's something that probably was like an easier subject for you to study on. I mean, I had a few of those, and some of them I was just like, oh boy,
yeah,
I'm fucked on this one.
Exactly. But if you I tell everyone this, for everybody, you all have your different ways of learning about things. Do it the way that works for you. For me, if I wanted to do rule retention, I'm by myself, repeating it literally like Bart Simpson in the cartoons where he's like, I will not do this. I will not. I literally did that verbatim and in handwriting. That's what worked for me. Some people, they do mnemonics,
You just got to find what works for you, because not everything's going to work for everyone else. And I think another thing was my first semester, I had taken an 8-month break because I was able to get out of school a little bit early and go work. And it was relearning how to go to school. And it took me a little bit of time. And I think you went through this thing where you're like, man, I've been out for a little bit, and be okay with yourself with not maybe being the top of the class, because there's a lot of smart people that go to law school and you're going to be humbled real fast.
Yeah.
And so you got to learn what works for you, doesn't work for person A, person B, and don't compare yourself to person C who's getting everything or talking, the first answer to a question. You just got to be confident with yourself, and the process will take its course, and you'll learn how to do law school and what works for you.
Yeah, and that would be another one of my nuggets, and what you just touched upon is, and I told you, we had a discussion about this. Everyone's raising their hand. They're giving these answers. They're giving answers. They're giving answers. I feel like I'm not adequate. I had imposter syndrome because I'm not raising my hand and giving as much, talking as much as they are. But they're the ones that actually didn't pass the first year. They're gone. I didn't see them the second year. And it's like, look, it doesn't matter how many times you raise your hand. It doesn't matter how much you speak, so long as what your content is good and matters. That's what's important.
Yeah.
And don't worry about getting pure B's or not getting any A's in law school, because that's one of the things that everyone in law school is worried about. I have no A's. I have no A's. I have no A's. I'm not doing good. You don't have to have. I did end up getting A's, so no humility. I had a couple A's. I told you I got that paper that got an award.
Yeah. I mean, it's nice to get that, but I think what you're getting at is a lot of people. This is the end of the road, and when you're applying for a job, unless from what I recall, it was only like the top 5% of the firms actually like, what's your GPA? You're in the top 10% of the class, whereas most of the other people are like, hey, you passed? Congratulations. You passed the bar? That's all I give. fuck about. Sorry.
Exactly. No, yeah.
Why am I apologizing? As long as you pass the bar, it's great, man. There's old sayings. C's get degrees and C lawyers employ the A lawyers.
Well, C's don't get degrees because they will still like put you on academic probation.
Maybe
if you're
they've
just
tightened up
Cs.
the restrictions since I was there.
Yeah, if you get just pure C's, you'll get like a really bad GPA, and they'll be like, you're cut off. You got to go.
Yeah.
So don't do
get
C's, but don't worry about getting A's.
You know, B's good work, but you also have to realize that, you know, you might have been the smartest kid in high school or in the top of the college, but as you rise, the cream rises to the top, and a lot of these people are super smart.
Yeah.
And a lot of them have more time than you have.
And also, just because you're good, just because you're book smart doesn't mean you're legal smart. That doesn't. People can be really good at writing essays. That's great for you. In law, not everyone's going to be writing essays. You might be good at writing essays in law school, but how are you in the courtroom?
Yeah.
You might be stuttering. You're going to be scared. You're not good at advocating in person. You're not good at public speaking. Well, that could be detrimental.
Well, that's the beauty of law school, man. Or law practice and in practicality is there's a whole wide area where people can find their lane. If you don't like speaking, you can be writing motions. You can do legal research and writing. If you love being a criminal attorney, you can go be a criminal attorney. If you like being in trial, you can be a trial attorney. There's so many facets to do.
Yeah.
And law is still a very good area to get some practice and kind of go out in the world and help out people and do some good, but also find your lane. There's a lot of flexibility in practice.
Yeah, so it's like, don't worry about if you're not good at writing essays in law school, because there might be some other facet in the actual legal world that you're going to be good at, right?
Yeah, totally. You'll find your lane, and I think you have to have some confidence in yourself. And a lot of people have imposter syndrome. I had it, but at some point you start finding your lane, man. And even if you still have it, you know what you're good at, and you know, but also you want to be able to challenge yourself too. You don't want to shy away from those skills just because you're not good at it. You want to get outside of what's comfortable and be in the zone of being uncomfortable, because that's where you truly grow. Yeah. And if you don't like it, then you did it and you find some place that you excel at. But I also want to encourage people, don't just get stuck in your comfort zone. Go explore the uncomfortable, because that's where you grow. And that's where you might find something like, hey, I didn't think I was good at this, and holy shit, I'm actually loving this, and I love it, and I'm going to get better at it, because you only get good at things through practicing.
It could be fun. Like, you can find some people like that challenge, and that's fun for them.
Yeah.
That might be, you'll never know unless you try it.
Yeah, 100%, you know? Right?
Yeah.
So going from law school to the bar, talk to me about the bar experience, man.
Oh man, you're giving me
anxiety, huh?
I just got my heart just like skipped a couple beats because I'm like, oh man. I didn't try relatively hard actually for my last couple finals. But I still did really good. And then I went from there, from law school, went on my trip to Dublin, came back the day before, and then went to graduation. Then about 2 days. So I graduated on May 19, 2024 on a Friday, and then partied Saturday, spent time with my then
recovering
girlfriend.
Sunday.
Yeah, recovering Sunday, and then straight into the bar.
Yeah.
And I recommend to anybody, if you have a chance after you're done with law school, with your finals, because once you put that last final in, it's up to, you know, the graders. Take some time, because the bar is a beast.
It's a whole different animal.
It's an animal.
It's like law school on steroids and packed into a 2-month program of this is what you're doing for the next 2 months.
And that transition is fast.
Yeah.
Like for me, Dublin or Ireland was a blink of an eye.
Especially if you're coming off your third year, where my third year I was skating. I'm like, dude, I've done all my classes, so I'm just taking not the easy classes, but I'm taking the classes that I know I don't have to show up to and do a lot of work. And then all of a sudden you're hitting 5th, 6th gear, and you're like, next 2 months of my life are gonna suck.
Yeah, and so another recommendation would be your final year, at least for me in Southwestern, which is where I went, Southwestern Law School. They gave you the classes that will be beneficial for bar, which is MBE and then Cal Bar Writing.
Yeah.
I took one of them seriously. I didn't take MBE seriously. I actually Unfortunately, I took a lot of those days off and just sat home. But take those seriously because, as you said, once you're done with that last final and you graduate, you're going to be kicked into overdrive.
Yeah.
And you are going to have this sense of, can I do this? When you start the bar.
You get kicked in the face. I remember I took Barbary, and I don't know if Barbary's still around. I don't know you guys took an online version.
It's still there, yeah.
And they gave me the schedule, and I looked at it, and I was like, whoa.
Yeah.
And I got through the first week, and I'm like, I'm not hitting the schedule at all.
Exactly.
And they didn't tell me, like, yeah, you should be aiming for 75, 80. They're like, here's your schedule, stick to it, and you'll pass. And then I was frustrated my first week because I was like, it was like 12 hours in and I'm tired. I'm like, I'm not even 80% of the way through. And finally I was like, there's no way I'm going to finish this. So I would take the schedule and I'm going to modify it. And if I hit 80% of this at the same time every day, I'm done studying. I'm going home. I'm working out. I'm going to eat and I'm going to bed. Yeah. I just treated it like a job. I just was like, do you know what? At some point every day, I'm done. And I can't sit there and like, I got to study for like 6 more hours. That worked for me. And I think this goes back to what works for you. And you got to find the path that works for you. And they give you, I don't know, tell us about what they gave you this time around.
Well, so first off, and you mentioned that they didn't tell you like, this is how much you have to complete, right?
They just gave us a schedule and it was like, you need to finish this schedule. But the schedule was, I think most people found it next to impossible to finish.
Yeah. And I'd say the same thing. And luckily, and I think one of the things that worked out for me that wasn't available to you, we had bar coaches.
So we had bar coaches in Barbary.
They didn't tell you that? They told me.
Maybe.
They told me.
I don't recall.
They gave you someone you can meet weekly. I didn't meet with them.
Oh, no. We didn't do that. I don't recall. Maybe there might have been private tutors, bar coaches.
Well, actually, no. It was a bar coach given to you by my school. My law school gave me.
Oh, okay.
So, and they gave you a bar coach and they told you that you can meet with them weekly and they can help you, give you pointers, and mine didn't help out. So I used Carmen.
You gotta have the right bar coach, right?
Yeah. But they would tell you, you don't have to do 100% of this. Most people who pass do 85% and above. And so that's one of the things that was available to me. They told you, you're not going to be able to finish all of this. 85% and above, that's what you want to aim to. One of the bar coaches that I got, his name is Colin Hu. Fantastic. He used to write the bars.
Oh, okay.
He actually might have been the one who
maybe he graded your bar.
No. He might have failed Kim Kardashian.
Oh, really?
He goes over. He's like, yeah, I might have, because I was getting all the bars and writing them. I might have been the one that failed Kim Kardashian. He was excellent. He'd tell you, this is how much rule retention you should do a day. Yeah. You should do MBEs. Start out with a couple, but like second month in, 50 to 100 a day. And I would do that. I would do 100 a day every morning.
Because it's like you can learn all you want, but you got to know how to take the test, right?
Repetition. They do give you the schedule. And for all those that do watch this, please do not do what I do, because at some point, I threw a chair across my room because I was so stressed out. I did every day, Monday through Sunday, 8 to around 5:30, just banging out a couple of MBEs, learning, etc. No breaks. I even took off days that were holidays. I took them on and I still studied. Yeah. I hated it. Yeah. It sucked. So do your schedule. I will say, if you're going into it, they will give you the schedule. Do what works for you, but do as much as you can. Don't do like 60%.
Yeah. 50%. Don't be like, oh, I did 60% today, I'm good. You're better off over studying and over taking practice tests, because you never know who's grading those tests. Yeah,
and I got this schedule and I told myself, all right, I'm gonna wake up at 7. Maybe I never meditated, but I would like wake up at 7, eat, shower, get myself situated, start at 8, then at 12:30, 12-ish, around that time, lunch break, go out for a run. Those runs were super therapeutic, and I lost 14 pounds.
Super studying. Good shape during lost studying or the bar prep, huh?
Yeah, super good shape.
Me too, man.
The best shape I ever was. I was like starting to get chiseled. It was good.
Yeah, right.
In my head, I was.
Yeah.
But then I got, I came back, showered again, went until 5:30, and then went to work right afterwards. Yeah. And so
You treat it like a job.
Treat it like a job within a job.
Yeah, you definitely. I remember like just having a routine and sticking to that was a savior. But at some point, I was like, in July, I was like, man, I'm so sick of this. I need a break. I'm ready to take this. But I just remember it was July 4th. I was like, I just want to get this shit done. I'm so ready, and I probably wasn't, but in my head, I was just having like, I'm done with this. I'm fucking done with this.
I had that 2 weeks after, because you said July 4th. July 4th is actually when I went to. I did take a little bit of break to go celebrate my friend's birthday in Vegas.
I think it's smart, man, to have a little bit of a break.
It was not smart because I came back and I was brain dead from several days of drinking that I told myself I was not gonna do.
You overdid it there.
And I came back and I had like not a mini panic attack. I guess a mini panic attack where I went, I can't remember anything. Oh crap! How am I gonna be able to do this?
Yeah.
And then 2 weeks pass, and everything just started. You had mentioned it to me. Everything just started clicking, all the pieces together. I'm like, this is what needs to be done.
It's a puzzle piece, huh?
Like community property, not that well tested. There's only a couple things there that you really need. You don't need to know the rules 100%. Know the best concepts of the rules. That's enough.
Yeah.
You know, you don't need to know everything verbatim. Someone had told me you did. That's bullcrap. And at that 2 week mark, I remember I went out. I was dragged out by my friends to go eat with them.
No's an easy answer.
Yeah. I told them no, and they're like, we're downstairs, come out. I was dragged out, and they said, how do you feel about the bar? And I said, I'm going to give that motherfucker the hardest time it's ever had.
Yeah.
I was like, I'm going to at least give it a fight.
Because you were ready, man. You knew, like, you had put in all the work, and at some point, you can study all you want, and you can retain all the knowledge, but you got to go in there. And some people, they don't have a good test experience, and that's why you get to retake it. Some people will get to knock it out of the park the first time.
Yeah, and you had told me, like, when you were studying for the bar, like, you had your days in which you had to kind of recalibrate, I think you said it was Sunday,
there was,
right?
Like, the first day I took the bar, I felt good. Second day I took the bar, I felt like I wasn't going to pass. And then the third day I took the bar, I just felt like I wanted to take a nap for 3 weeks.
Yeah.
And so it's definitely very humbling. I was fortunate enough to put in enough work to pass the first time, and luckily I did. And then I went and took another one, and I vowed I'd never take another bar again.
What can I ask you because I had my own methods of how I studied. Like, I would skim past the videos. I wouldn't put too much emphasis as long as I can retain like what it is about. That was enough for me. The videos are so long that you're not going to get through the day. How did you conduct your studying?
Yeah,
what worked for you?
We were in class actually. So the first 8 to 11 was like lecture, and then you're done for the day and you go follow your schedule. I found the lectures helpful sometimes. Other times I was like, I don't need the lecture. Mm-hmm. So I would kind of, after you get past the first week, what your strengths, where you need to compensate, what you need to study for. And then I started modifying the schedule based on what I thought I needed and what I was deficient in or what I was overqualified for. Right. So don't be scared to get off script a little bit, because like in life, you're going to be strong in one subject, but you're going to have challenges in another. And I think you got to look at the bar and what do they test the most. There's a lot of probabilities involved. Like you mentioned, community property may not be tested that often, but they're going to test probably the core subjects more often than not.
Right.
So I weighted my studying definitely towards the core subjects.
That's what I did.
When I took my second bar, that's all I studied.
Yeah.
And I didn't study any of the other stuff. I got lucky. I mean, there was no way around it because the essays were only core subjects.
Yeah.
Had I knocked on one of those, I probably wouldn't have been sitting here with a second bar pass the first time. But I think you got to just listen to the people, take the test, and then don't be scared to get off script a little bit if you know something. And also know when to walk away, because I think a lot of people burn out.
Yeah.
Because they study too much, and then you come to a point where you overstudy, and then you get anxiety, and then you can't step back and apply what you already know. Yeah. Like you said, it clicked. You got to find a sweet spot when it starts clicking and be confident when you take that test.
Yeah, I think that it's so crazy because there's a switch between when you started the bar and when everything I did was remote. They have pre-recorded videos for you.
That's
now.
crazy.
And I was just at home most of the time. I hate my apartment.
There's no. I would have been if you told me like right now, hey, let's take a bar prep online. I'd be like, I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it whatsoever.
It's so different. It's all recorded, so that's why I was like, for you can't skip because you're not. My bad. You're in a lecture, so how are you gonna?
Well, I mean, you don't have to go.
You don't have to go.
It was like a big lecture hall, and they don't care. I mean, they got your money, so they're.
But you miss out though.
Yeah, you totally miss out. But some people, I mean, there's some people that didn't need a lecture.
Yeah.
It's just like you talked about earlier. You got to know who you are and what you need. There were some people leaving the library at like 2 o'clock, and I'm like, damn.
Yeah.
I hate you.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, exactly.
But it worked for them, and I'm sure they passed the bar. They didn't need to study as much as I did, but I was also leaving earlier than other people.
Right.
Because I knew if I stayed in there 2 more hours, I was going to go haywire. So I needed to go play basketball or work out.
Yeah.
So I think you got to stick to a schedule, know what's comfortable, but don't get in your head like, today I'm going to take a break. No, you gotta stick to it and do a consistent amount of work over a period of time, because it's only 2 months and you can do it over 2 months. Yeah, you're going to have some moments of anxiety or stress or blow-ups, but you just got to do the work.
Yeah, get a routine going. When my transition period between the graduating and the bar, I did think of like, how am I going to do this? Like, what am I going to carve out at the end of the day? And my bar coaches told you, and I'll tell you this as well, if you need to take like a little break, don't take any substantial breaks. Don't be like, I'm done. I'm not going to do anything for the rest of the day. But if you need to, I took frequent naps sometimes.
Yeah, no, it's smart, man. It's like
tired.
if you sit and do a work over like 4 hours, you're probably not as optimal as if you go and take a break every hour or 2 hours, whatever's necessary. Because at some point your mind needs to shut down and let all this stuff flush out, come back, let it rattle around in my head. That's how I explain it. I'm sure the scientists can explain it better. Yeah. But I know for me, it's like I'm going to go walk it out and think about it, and I'll come back and I'm ready to hit it again.
Exactly. Like I would take frequent naps, and sometimes I'd come back and be refreshed and be like, all right, I did good. Yeah. Because there were times in which I woke up, I have insomnia. So
you needed to take naps.
Yeah, I wouldn't sleep, and I would wake up and I'd get all these questions wrong on the MBEs and be like, damn it, what the hell is going on? Take a nap, come back, do really well. And it's like, that's all I needed was just a little.
You got to take care of your health, man, because sleeping and eating right and exercising, that all will lead to a more optimal experience in life. But also don't be scared to walk away from it and be like, I need a break.
Yeah. I told you that story earlier. There was a moment I was taking this property. It was graded. So they grade you and they tell you how you would fare at the bar. And I was taking this property essay. It was like an hour timed or something along those lines. And I was just like, I don't know if I'm doing this right. I can't tell whether this is good or bad. And I'm so stressed out. I'm pissed. And I got to another portion of it and I was like second guessing myself. And I just went, fuck. And I grabbed my chair and I threw it. And then I was like,
I need that chair back.
I need that chair. Yeah, I need that chair. I went across the room and I grabbed it. Thankfully, it didn't break anything. And I sat down and I typed it and I'm like, I need to take a break. It's 4 weeks in. I haven't been taking a break. Yeah. And I went to go visit my brother-in-law's grave. And then I went to get some good food because I hadn't been eating well. Yeah. And found out I got like a 75 or a 70. I did really well on that exam. It's like, oh, okay, I just second guessed myself. Yeah. So definitely get those moments that you can have a breather. You'll remember them the best. Yeah. You need them.
What is one or two other things that you think you can help out or give away that might be beneficial for those in the process or thinking about taking the bar?
Have a mantra. For people who don't know, there's a show called The Bear. It's about a guy who who takes over a restaurant, and the new season came out when I was studying for the bar, and the first episode the third season shows him how he became a chef, and being a chef is stressful. Yeah, yeah. So he did this thing to keep himself going, where he put a sticky note and it said, "Keep fucking going." I literally put that in the front of my screen that just said, keep fucking going. Yeah. And every time I would be like looking down, I'd look up keep fucking going.
Yeah.
And that, like, all right, let's lock in. People thought I was crazy. I would have people that would come in for my birthday and they're like, why is there just a sticky note saying keep fucking going? I'm like, oh, you know.
It doesn't matter.
But that mantra, and it could be anything. For me, I literally just ripped it off the show. But keep fucking going. Have something to remind yourself at the beginning, at the end of the day, like, you got this, you can do it. Mm-hmm. It's 2 months. You just have to get through it, and then at the end of it, you're gonna take.
That comes the super anxiety period.
Yeah.
Because it took you 2 months to study for it. Took you 2.5 days to take it, and then you get to wait for 3 months until you get results.
yeah, exactly.
Congratulations.
Yeah.
The hardest part is waiting for the damn thing.
Exactly. And then I think the other piece of advice, if there's another advice I would give, would be the exam itself. The day before, don't touch your shit. By that I mean, do not study anymore. Go out, get your not your demographics, but get your stuff in order before you take the exam, but don't study because you need
prepared.
that R&R.
Make sure you have everything ready. Your computer's charged, computer's running.
Exactly. Get everything handled. I had someone who didn't pass I know someone that didn't pass the bar that was like, I'm gonna study the day before.
Yeah.
What I did, I went to go watch the Deadpool movie. I went to go eat well, got all my materials ready, made sure my computer's ready, went to sleep at like 9 o'clock.
Yeah, I know that it goes back to what works for you. So I know both sides of the coin. For me, I tried not to study before because I know I'd work myself up in a frenzy.
Yeah.
But I also know some people that did it because that's what they needed to do.
Yeah.
Because it worked for them.
It works for
But
them.
I also know some people that went to a basketball game like in between the bar, like at night they're at a basketball game because they needed some outlet to get their mind off of it. So whatever works for you, stick to it. Whatever's worked in law school, stick to it. Yeah. Don't try and develop something new that doesn't work for you. Or if something doesn't work for you, find a new thing that works for you.
Right. I guess the overall advice I would give is take those moments to have some R&R.
Yeah.
They're really, really, really important. Like, extremely important. And take the time to go see family, because the family there that you have, if you do have family or if you have friends that you can talk to.
People that are important to you.
Yeah, because for me, I was in isolation most of the time, so that really sucked, not being able to talk to people. But the people that I did talk to, actually, Clemente, for example, one of the attorneys that works here, him and Noemi downstairs really helped out because they would come and check on me as I'm in there sweating because for some reason y'all didn't keep the AC on after this is summer and I'm over here
Don't
just
talk
sweating.
to me, man. We'll talk to the landlords.
And it's like there's no way anyone can say I'm not coming to work and not like suffering. I was hot.
Yeah.
And they would come in and they would check in on me like sweat dripping off my brow. And they'd just be like giving me insight as to taking the bar, you know. If you think you passed the bar, it's those people who thought that don't pass. If you think you didn't pass, I didn't think I passed. I passed. So
yeah, I still don't remember I told you the first day I thought I did well, and the second day was the MBE, and I was like, I might be signing up for bar number 2.
MBE's brutal.
Yeah, I remember that was the one that gave me the most trouble. It was like you get it down to 2, and it's like, hey man, I'm gonna flip the coin.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm circling.
You go through it and you're just like, all right, A looks good, B looks good, C looks good, D looks good.
Which one does not look great?
Yeah.
So you talked about routine, talked about the bar. We kind of touched on the anxiety of getting the results. Tell us how you chose to get the results and why it was important to you to do it that way.
So I didn't choose to see my results right away. So when you get your results nowadays, before it used to be different. I think before it used to actually be a letter. Now it's not like that at all. Now what happens is that 2 days before it goes public, you get it privately. And you sign on and it will either tell you pass with no score, or it'll give you a score which indicates you didn't pass, unfortunately. And it'll give you your actual answer.
That's in California. Other states might actually give you your score. I think in Nevada I got my MBE score.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
I wish. Well, because you know why? Because your MBE doesn't transfer to others.
Yeah, and then other states
one.
have reciprocity in different bar formulations. But anyway, sorry
Yeah.
to interrupt.
So you get that 2 days before, and everyone I know was checking that Friday. I was in Scottsdale with you in Arizona, and I refused to look because for me, this was a big occasion for me and my family, you know, first generation. To them, this is a huge deal.
Yeah.
So I told myself, I'm not going to look Friday, I'm going to look Saturday. That's what I did. I waited a whole day to check.
How did that kill you, man?
No, actually it did. I thought it would kill me, but I went with the mentality that I failed. So I was like, you know what? I already know I failed. I was at the airport and I was like, I failed. Who cares? Fuck it. And it was just drinking. I was with you guys. I was like,
I wasn't at the airport with you drinking.
No, but
I was
before
studying.
that, yeah. For some people, they can't wait. For me, I had already that impression that I failed, so it was like, whatever. Saturday rolls around, and I told myself, I want my family to be there because if push comes to shove and I do fail, I want my family to comfort me.
Yeah.
I need them to be there. They're the one people in my world that really do comfort me.
Yeah.
And so I went there. It's funny enough, I screwed up. I actually locked myself out of my account
Too hungover.
twice because I forgot my password and it wasn't saved. And so I was shaking and I typed it in, and it's like password incorrect. Crap. Password incorrect. You've been locked out. 15 minutes. And I opened it up and I'm like, okay, how am I gonna comport myself once I get the bad news? And I opened it up and it says Freddy De Jesus Ramirez. Pass. And I literally say nothing. I just sit back and I'm like, and then my family's like, is everything good? With cameras out, the cake's ready, and they're just and my nephew, and I just pointed my nephew to look.
You're like, did I see that correctly?
He's like, oh shit. Oh, you passed! And it's just a huge elation moment, and I will admit I broke down.
That's cool.
I don't break down, but I broke down.
That's like the biggest. For me, it was like the biggest relief. It was like, oh, I passed.
Did you get like water dumped on you?
My brother dumped water on me. I think that was for the Nevada bar though. Because I think the result came out midday. I don't remember. It was 16 years ago. But yeah, man, it was, for me, it was one of relief, and it was just like, oh, thank God.
Yeah, I was literally getting ready to have to take the next couple months to study again. I was even gearing up. I'm like, all right, we're gonna have to start doing this. How am I gonna work it into my work life? Like, okay, I'm not gonna have to look at the videos, yada yada. And now it's like, I don't have to do that anymore. I don't have to study.
Now you get to focus on the next phase.
Now I have to focus on paying my student loans.
Yeah, man. I mean, welcome to reality. It hits you square over the head fast, huh?
On to the next hurdle.
Yeah,
but
it never gets easier. But at least you have that title behind your name to back up, and it's an accomplishment, man. A lot of people will talk shit about lawyers, but it's still a profession that deserves accolades because we do help out a lot of people.
True, exactly. And it's something that for me as a Latino, it's a huge deal because we don't get that many opportunities, especially in this country. Funny enough, in this exact room on Friday when I was helping that client of ours with discovery, he's a Spanish speaker, he's Latino. And he's like, can I ask you something? I'm like, yeah, go ahead. Are you the attorney? I'm like, no, but I'm about to be an attorney next week or in like a week or so because I passed the bar. He's like, your story is amazing. Because I told him, like, I'm Latino, I'm an orphan. I was adopted when I was 13. I was broke growing up. And I told him everything. And he's like, hearing your story is amazing because my people need to hear that.
Yeah.
And we shook hands. He's like, it was a wonderful meeting you. And to me, that helps out because it's like, I want to help people out like that, you know?
It's reaffirming.
Yeah, people who need assistance in life and can't find it anywhere else.
Yeah, and a lot of people don't know where to turn.
Yeah, and I get to represent those people, like my people now, my Latinos, my fellow Latinos, and they can kind of resonate with that, and I'm appreciative.
That's neat, man. To me, it comes full circle. You were dependent on your family. They gave you the opportunity, and now you've closed that circle, and now you get to help them out and support them and be an example to the next generation.
Exactly. Much to your detriment, because they will be calling you at 2 a.m. Hey, I got this problem. Oh,
welcome to your first client. It's called Friends and Family Law, man. They're going to be calling you for all the advice. Like, yeah, I mean, I went to law school, but I don't know anything about that. So, yeah, you start getting that real fast.
Yep.
So as you take this next chapter in life, what are you looking forward to?
Learning. That's the biggest one. That's the apex of it, is learning, because I like challenges. I like knowing new things. In law school, I loved all these different facets of law, like animal law, medical malpractice. Loved all of that.
Yeah.
So that's one of the things I look forward to, is getting down to seeing how things progress, because you only had a lens of how it works in a courtroom, but now you might be actually a part of it. Or depositions, I've seen you do it, but I never was a part of it. And
it's different when you're in it versus being an observer. There's
a lot of nuances. Like today you told me about cases, what to object to, what to not. I didn't know about that.
Yeah.
So now I will be able to know.
Yeah, you're on the job training on how to be a lawyer is a lot faster and a lot more intense, but you learn a lot more outside of law school, is my experience. So it's good though. Law school can train you for some things, but you're gonna have to learn on the job training as much as of anything.
Exactly. What is the thing you look forward to with me being an attorney?
Oh man, not doing depositions and court appearances. Oh man, it's gonna be nice not to have to do all the legal minutia, man, and expanding my day-to-day operations to focus on the next chapter of my career.
Yeah, that's going to be... Now you can take a little bit of a breather, right?
Just kind of a transformation, man. It's like any area of your life, you've been doing something and some people love it and some people love parts of it and don't love certain parts of it, and you get to focus on the things that you like and kind of help people, fill in the gaps and hopefully give some people more opportunities to expand their horizons, take on challenges, and explore a little bit. So that's a neat opportunity about watching curious people come into your practice. Is like, okay, well, here's this, and that, and go set the world on fire.
Yeah, I think that's one of the things that had beneficial to me going into graduating and law school and working here, is that I did want to learn new things. Like when you asked me, do a minors compromise, got it.
Yeah.
Do a complaint, got it. Do this, got it. Do discovery, got it. I tried all those different things. And you've probably seen it as well. You do a group email. Someone tried doing this, find a template. Who would be the first one to acknowledge it and say, I got this?
Probably you.
Exactly.
Because you do like to explore and challenge yourself. And that's a character trait that is very commendable to you, as you're going to dive into the fire, and you might get that work product ripped apart, but at least you're going to try it. And we know sometimes you speed through things, and sometimes you got to learn to slow down. I have that problem, but just diving in head first to try things is a trait that a lot of people can't say they have. And sometimes it's not the best way to do it, but for you, it works out. And I think, to me, I love people that show initiative. So for me, I love that stuff.
Definitely.
Some non-law things as we wrap up. I think we've been here for an hour and a half or so.
Okay.
These are just in no particular order, things I ask out of everyone. 5 people you'd want to have dinner with.
Ooh, dead or alive?
Both. Doesn't matter.
Franklin and Teddy Roosevelt.
Okay.
So those two. Barack Obama. Wow, these are all presidents, so I'm going to choose one.
You're a history major.
Yeah, exactly. A fourth one. Dang. I'd have to go with Selma Hayek, because she's so pretty. That's got to be the fourth one.
She's still good.
She's beautiful.
She's like 50s, 60s. She's still good. She got it.
Yeah, and I'd choose maybe like a comedian, because I think it'd be funny. A comedian would be maybe like Conan O'Brien. That would be good.
Conan's smart, man. I'll always love me some Conan. He's goofy.
Yeah, or I don't know who else. I forget what's his name. Oh, Dave Chappelle. Okay. That would be it. Dave Chappelle. Because he would be the best of both worlds, where he's funny, but he's also insightful.
Yeah.
What about you?
Me, Been asked that question. I'll come back to you when I'm the subject of the interview. But offhand, I know I'd want to do Michael Jordan,
Good.
Bill Murray.
Oh.
I'd like to sit down with George Washington or Thomas Jefferson, and I think Nelson Mandela.
Nelson Mandela. Okay.
But mine are always going to change based on my time and mood. But for sure, Jordan, because I have pictures of him everywhere. So
Yeah.
I go with a Jordan fan. If you could interview 1 to 2 people just to pick their brain, who would they be?
Just to pick their brain.
Just have a
Kim
conversation.
Jong. Why are you the way you are?
Why are you No, I mean that's a legit answer. Why are you so fucked up?
No, I probably wouldn't be making it out of that interview room alive.
No.
It would be to pick their brain. Elon Musk would be one of them.
Yeah.
Because I feel like I can't tell whether he's exceptionally smart or he's just kind of getting by on luck. So that'd be one of them.
I think he's incredibly smart. I think he's become more polarizing, but I think he's an incredibly smart person.
Yeah, exactly. And then I think a second one would be, oh gosh, I don't know. I mean, yeah, I would say Barack Obama again. No, actually, yeah, I would say Barack Obama because he's very intelligent. He knows what he's talking about, and just kind of his insight as to. I really think he's my favorite. He's one of my favorite presidents in my time that existed. So
yeah, it makes sense, man. He definitely inspired a lot of people, especially a lot of young people.
Yeah.
What's your favorite concert you've been to?
I'm a raver, so I don't think 90% of your demographics are gonna know.
That's all right. You might be surprised.
I would say my favorite concert would be. I would say EDC 2019, which is all encompassing, like different artists.
Who was headlining that year?
There's no like main headliners, I think.
Okay.
But I think there was like Travis Scott was there, and there was Millennium, and it was my first introduction into the rave scene, and I would do it again. I got my phone stolen.
I remember that.
During that time, I would do it again. I don't care. I loved it. It was amazing.
Got it. What's one guilty pleasure for Freddy?
Steak. Ribeye.
I don't think that's guilty, man.
I mean, you telling me it's healthy. Steak is my guilty pleasure. Nice ribeye, medium rare.
All right.
Thyme, butter, garlic, rosemary.
Salt and pepper.
Salt and pepper. That's it.
Yeah. And a nice bottle of wine.
Yeah.
What's one message that you could disseminate to everyone? If it was on a billboard, if it was on however you could get the message out. What's one message that you would want to tell everyone?
Don't be stuck on the past because it makes you blind to the road in front of you.
Wow.
Damn, I have had nothing to drink today. That was good.
I like that one. What is one like podcast or book? What are you listening to, or what do you find resourceful to help you grow as an individual? Could be any influence of your life.
To better myself, you would
Sure.
say?
Yeah.
Oh, man, why am I blanking out? But I did have one that's been insightful. Well, like those legal advocate magazines that you gave me, I do read them. No, I don't read them on the toilet. I read them on the sofa. Okay?
That's good, man.
We're different, but that really helps me because I think it helps me, just me. It's not gonna help everyone, obviously, but it helps me to hopefully be a better attorney because I make a lot of mistakes. I'm very cognizant. I'm very aware of the fact that I do that. So I want to be better at it. It's just going to take me some time and to get out of my bad habits of moving fast.
Yeah, breaking some of your habits and learning to slow down. There's that Navy SEAL saying, slow is smooth and smooth is fast.
Yeah, exactly.
If there was one person you'd want me to interview, but the caveat is you got to help me get that person on this podcast, who would it be?
Kingpin. Not Kingpin as in the comic book. Is his name Brett Sachs? You know who Brett
Oh,
Sachs
the
is?
MVP lawyer.
I hope he doesn't watch this, but we had he did a couple of Zoom seminars or something like that where he talked about personal injury and what works. It's actually where I got the what I call the Holy Trinity.
Yeah.
Which is when I do a personal injury case, I don't want just chiro. I want chiro, I want PM or conservative, PM, and MRIs. And he went over why that's very important because A, builds your case. B, you get to figure out what they need. Some people don't need chiro. They have tears in their back and they're just getting chiro.
Yeah.
And C, it makes your case look better.
Yeah.
You know?
It's a more comprehensive approach to help the person get
And he talked about the whole
treated as like quick as possible, right? And
Yeah.
Better treatment.
Exactly. So he talked about the Holy Trinity and he went over TBI and I was like, damn, me and Corey and I were like, this is super insightful.
Yeah.
And all we can also think about was he looks like Kingpin.
So that's funny, man. Yeah, Brett Sachs, he's out of Orange County. He's a great attorney, man.
Yeah. So he'd be someone I'd be like,
Okay.
get him down here. You know.
Or I go down there and get him up here. We'll see.
Yeah.
Cool, man. Well, thank you for joining me. It's been real, dude.
Thank you, man. Thank you
Forward
for
in
having
the
me.
next 10, 15, 20 years.
Oof, it's going to be rough. I'm telling you right now.
Thanks, dude.
All right.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.